Thank you, friend. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to you all. I will be on the road for the next week or so. I will light the candles for Hanukkah, the festival of light, from wherever I am. I will be here, there, and everywhere. And I will even have a brief stopover in Whoville. And yes, I have met the Grinch himself. Friends, as you've been reading, you probably noticed that the theme of duality has continued. Joseph introduced his dreaming by telling two dreams. The brothers debated between two fates for him. He is presented with two dreams to interpret while in prison. He is about to be told two dreams by Pharaoh 2 years after the cupbearer and baker incident. The brothers make 2 trips to Egypt, and friends, we continue to live in a bipolar world. We love or hate, we walk or run. We're Democrats or Republicans, liberals or conservatives. We support or reject, we talk in terms of good or bad, pro or con. We think of naughty or nice. Christmas is coming. Religiously, we see Christians or Jews. We celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah. We see things in black or white. And when we do that, we have our arms extended like being on a cross, and we are missing everything in between. Bring your hands together. I love the shades of life in between, the shades and color of understanding and acceptance and change, the gradation of life. So do not live in a world of opposites. Choose love and choose everything in between. Because I spend so much of my time being of service to the interfaith community, I have noticed that they too see things as either or, and often alternate holidays, celebrating Christmas one year, Hanukkah the next, Passover one year, Easter the next, and even observing with their children the commonality of holy days as separate and distinct. Now, while some are, many are shared. And wouldn't it be better to teach how they are the same, not different? Special greetings and season of light wishes go to my good friend Scotty, a man who has always been there for me and always will. And it is important to thank the special people in your life. Thank you, Scotty. Thinking of you, my friend, and also thinking of Rabbi Leslie. Certainly one of the most amazing rabbis I have ever met. A liturgical genius who has undergone some very serious surgery. I've been thinking of you, praying for you, and sending all the healing energy I can. Misha Berach, get well. And it was great talking to my old friend Philip the other day. We go back many years, and he too is one I can never forget in Philip. I will be there for you always. We must remember to tell the people who matter that they matter. We are in the midst of Hanukkah, the great festival of lights and miracles. So let's take a few minutes to talk about it. We all know the story. Around 170 before the Common Era, the temple in Jerusalem was sacked by the Syrian Hellenists, who forbid the practice of Judaism and erected an idol in the temple. Now, for several years, there was terrible persecution. And at one point, the Greeks arrived in Modin, a city just west of Jerusalem, which can still be visited today, by the way, where they ordered the Jews to sacrifice a pig to the Greek gods. Now, the priest, Mattathias, refused and killed the person who was willing to do the sacrifice, along with the Greek envoy, and a guerrilla war broke out. Now, this priest, Mattathias, and his sons, led by Judah, nicknamed Maccabee the Hammer, and also an acronym for Michamocha Ba'alim Hashem, who was like you among the powers, O God, leads the revolt. Now, the actual fighting takes 25 years, but after the first 3, the Maccabees reconquer Jerusalem and start cleaning up. And I'm sure to help make the time go a little quicker on the temple cleanup, they sang great songs. Let's not forget this great great Hanukkah classic. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah, let's have a party. We'll all dance the hora, spin the whirling dreidels all week long, eat the sizzling latkes, sing a happy song. Okay, they probably didn't sing that, but they did clean up the temple. And the famous gold menorah, which Moses was instructed to design and build, had been melted down. So they lit a makeshift one with the one vial of official high priest lamp oil that they could find. And the miracle of Hanukkah, of course, is that it burned for 8 days instead of 1, which allowed fresh oil to be brought to the temple. That is why the menorah, or Hanukkiah, is lit for the holiday. And it's different from the temple menorah, having 8, not 7 spaces, plus 1 giving 9, and the 9th serves as the shamash, the helper light, which lights the others. The story is well told in the Talmud, my friends, in Shabbat 21b, if anyone wants to read it. Friends, there are really two miracles to note. The first, the one day of oil burning for 8 days. And the second, the amazing military victory of the small force over the great force. One was the physical battle and the other the spiritual battle. Another duality for us to consider. The holiday is celebrated with the increasing light added to the menorah, as most call it. Jelly donuts, latkes, or potato pancakes, chocolate coins, also known as Hanukkah geld or money, and of course the dreidel, which some believe is the most popular game in the world. Now the dreidel, which is its Yiddish name, in Hebrew it is the sevivon. Sounds French, doesn't it? Sevivon. It's a gambling toy with 4 sides, and the mythology of it tells us that when the children were illegally studying Torah, if the Greek soldiers were coming, they would hide the Torahs and pull out the dreidels instead. So here we have a game that's been played for over 2,200 years. And there are letters on each of the 4 sides, which stands for the phrase, a great miracle happened here, if you were in Israel, or there, if you were not. And you win different amounts depending on which Hebrew letter comes up. Look out, Las Vegas! And that too brings up another immortal tune, the dreidel song. I have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, oh dreidel I shall play. It's a great holiday and a wonderful one for children to really understand the miracles that can take place in our lives. And friends, miracles take place in our lives all the time. We start with 1 candle, and every day we add to it, bringing more light into our lives. And when we light the candles, we say the following: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Chanukah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim chachaim bizman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days at this time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'hechianu v'yekimanu v'higianu lizman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this occasion. And friends, I know people who get all wound up and confused over how to light the candles in terms of order or direction. And I will tell you, it doesn't matter. Just light them and have some fun. But for those who want to know, we do light them in a specific way. There is an official way of doing everything. And there's actually spiritual meaning for it also. You add a light from right to left, but you light from left to right. Will you be struck by lightning if you don't do it that way? No. So have some fun. And, for those of you who are watching, here's 2 examples of Hanukkahs. The first, the typical Hanukkah, which we're all familiar with. And, here's how the candles go in it. And here's an ancient version, which burnt oil. And it's compact and multi-purpose. And even though it's designed as a Hanukkah, it could be used for Shabbat candles at the same time. So if anybody gets a chance, take a look at the video, and you will see the 2 examples of Hanukkahs. Enjoy the 8 days, my friends. It is, of course, a rabbinic and not a Torah holiday, as it took place after biblical times. And it always comes around the time of the dream episodes, because dreams and miracles do go hand in hand. We were in the second part of the Joseph Chronicles, Miketz, and in the end. It's actually from the end, but I couldn't help myself. And at the end, you will see that this parsha does in fact point to what happens in the end. Joseph has been languishing in the prison house, Beit Sohar, for a few more years. The term tells us it's not so much an institution as we think of a prison, but it has a home component to it, the Beit, although not quite a house that you or I would want to live in. And friends, what stands out in this parsha is the power of dream interpretation. The Hebrew verb patar and its associated noun suggest decipherment. There is one conclusive decoding for every dream, and a person who is granted insight can break the code. Wow, what a gift, what a powerful individual that person would be. In Egypt, the interpretation of dreams was regarded as a science, and formal instruction in techniques of dream interpretation was given in schools called houses of life. Even now, when we have a dream, we seek a Joseph to interpret it for us, to break the code. The thing that Joseph said, God does. Joseph had said before, and will say again with Pharaoh, that dream interpretation comes from God. He does not say gods. Now, is it because he remains an ardent monotheist in a sea of pantheism and polytheism? We're really never given insights into the actual religious or spiritual practices of the patriarchs. We see them bargain, argue, cajole. And the word in the Torah in this section for God is Elohim, the plural spelling but singular term, not Yahweh. And so it is possible that Joseph says God and Pharaoh hears gods. But friends, there are those who believe the Egyptians were much more monotheistic than has been suggested. They did believe in an unknowable, unseeable creator God, Atum. There's a great ancient Egyptian hymn which goes, One, the maker of all things, the spirit, the hidden spirit, the maker of spirits. He existed in the beginning when nothing else was. What is created he made after he came into being. No man knows how to find him. His name is a mystery and is hidden. His names are innumerable. He is truth. He lives on the truth. He is the king of truth. He is life. Through him man lives. He gives life to man. He breathed life into his nostrils. He himself is existence. He neither increases nor diminishes. He made the universe, the world, what was, what is, and what shall be. He hears him who calls on him. He rewards his servants. Those who acknowledge him he knows. He protects his followers. If I didn't know better, I would think I was hearing a very early Hebrew song. Genesis 41:1. And it was at the end of 2 years' time, and Pharaoh was dreaming. We are about to hear, probably after Jacob's ladder, the most famous dreams in the Torah, the twin dreams of Pharaoh. And friends, especially for you numerologists out there, sacred numbers stand out in each of the 3 sets of dreams in the Joseph story. First with the brothers, 12. Then with the cupbearer and baker, 3. And now with Pharaoh, 7. And 3, 7, and 12 are amazing numbers in Jewish mythology. And if anyone is interested, we can do a talk on the mythology of numbers and how they relate to creation and the tree of life. Dream 1, Genesis 41:2. He was standing by the Nile, and look, out of the Nile came up 7 cows, fair to look at and fat and flesh. They grazed in the rushes. And look, another 7 cows came up after them out of the Nile, foul to look at and meager in flesh, and stood by the cows on the bank of the Nile. And the foul-looking, meager-fleshed cows ate up the 7 fair-looking, fat cows. Dream 2. 7 ears of grain came up on a single stalk, fat and goodly. And look, 7 meager ears, blasted by the east wind, sprouted after them. And the meager ears swallowed the 7 fat and full ears. Now no one can give Pharaoh the meaning. Then the cupbearer remembers and tells his story. And Joseph is summoned to tell Pharaoh the meaning. And once again, a clothing change figures in the defining moments of Joseph's life. He's cleaned up and changed and brought to Pharaoh, and he will be changed again when elevated to viceroy. There's an old saying, clothes make the man. Perhaps this is where it comes from. And destiny turns. Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, Not I. God will answer for Pharaoh's well-being. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph and relayed the dreams to him. Now remember, friends, the name he uses for the deity in speaking with Pharaoh is Elohim, the term that is general currency among polytheists and monotheists. And the exchange that takes place is not designed to suggest that the Egyptian monarch has necessarily turned into a monotheist by Joseph, but it does tell us that he does understand that human wisdom is a gift of God, or the gods, and the expression he uses could have the rather general force of divine spirit. And what is fascinating is that Joseph not only interprets, but suggests a solution, something not even asked for. Let Pharaoh look out for a discerning, wise man. and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, appoint overseers for the land, and muster the land of Egypt in the 7 years of plenty. And let them collect all the food of these good years that are coming. And let them pile up grain under Pharaoh's hand, food in the cities to keep under guard. And the food will be a reserve for the land for the 7 years of famine, which will be in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish in the famine. Well, Joseph is given the job. He's given an Egyptian name, a wife, and he has 2 sons. And he's got a great life. Cut to Canaan. The people are starving. So Jacob sends the brothers to Egypt to buy food. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob did not send with his brothers, for he thought, lest harm befall him. I love that, friends, lest harm befall him. Harm could befall the others, but not the only other child from Rachel. Jacob did not hide his feelings for his sons. How do you treat yours? Do we naturally prefer some over others? We're not supposed to. We pretend that we don't, but do we actually prefer some? Later, Jacob says that he, Benjamin, alone remains. He doesn't add from Rachel, but we like to think that is what he meant. We love to make allowances for him. The brothers come to Egypt. The Torah tells us Joseph's brothers came and bowed down to him. What we have here, friends, is fulfillment of Joseph's first 2 dreams. They buy food, they get accused of being spies, they don't realize Joseph speaks their language. They're asked about their father, and they mention the brother who did not come and the one killed by beasts. And ultimately they have to agree that one will stay while the others return home to get Benjamin, and they find their silver has been returned. 20 weights of silver. Does that amount sound familiar, friends? It was what they sold Joseph for. Though the mills of God grind slowly, yet they grind exceeding small. And when they see it, they exclaim, Vegam hine be'amtati. It's actually in my bag. They open their bags, and there it is. There's, of course, no reason for the brothers to even think there could be a connection between Joseph and the strange incidents taking place. They haven't seen Joseph in 20 years, and certainly would not have expected him to be the man basically ruling Egypt. He was 17 when they sold him. He became viceroy at 30, and the first 7 years are over. The 7 of plenty, and the famine is underway. 20 years is a long time not to see someone. They figured he was dead. We have seen they didn't know he understood their language. We get insights into their psyches. We learn through the brothers' fear and guilt things we didn't know. Joseph pleaded for his life when put in the pit. And friends, that adds another level of horror to what they did to him. And we see what it does to them. And they said each to his brother, but we're guilty over our brother, because we saw his soul's distress when he implored us, and we didn't listen. On account of that, this distress has come to us. This is the guilt many of us experience when we've done something that we know is wrong. We may want to make it right, but we don't always know how. But it goes further. It permeates their thoughts, their movements, their motives, their lives. We saw what fear can do. We saw what it did to Jacob his whole life, and how it became a part of the genetic makeup of his sons. Fear makes us say and do things we normally would not. Friends, you can look at the events of your life as being God's blessings, or as potential punishments for your guilty conscience and fear. Rav Kook reminded us that the sages said dreams are fulfilled according to the interpretation. So too may the thoughts contained within a guilty conscience. Since that is like a permanent dream we live in, or in fear of, is your vision filled with blessings or judgments? It is true. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Forget your fear, forget your negative guilt. See the miracles in your life. Let the sun shine and love. Friends, this is a story of fate, the fate of a family and the fate of a nation. And like a dream, you may never know what it results in. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might find you get what you need. Love you all. See the miracles in your life. Be well, be happy, be blessed. Light the lights and shine on brightly. Thank you. See you all next time. Shabbat shalom. Be well, my friends.